Congratulations, you've come across the must-watch before bed, the Heavy Days movie Bambi, again. In the deepest parts of the forest, there once lived a doe and her fawn, Bambi. Their life was quiet and secretive, but the greedy gunshots of humans eventually shattered this peace. Bambi watched his mother fall before his eyes, while he could only hide in the grass trembling. Fortunately, he endured hardships and grew up resiliently, even forming a small deer family with him as the leader. However, human destruction of the forest did not cease. With the roar of chainsaws and trucks, a chemical plant emitting toxic fumes quickly took over Bambi's home. Bambi, after drinking too much chemical waste, mutated from a gentle herbivore into a bloodthirsty giant deer that hates humans. Unaware of this, Shana is taking her son Jimmy to Grandma's house in the suburbs for Thanksgiving. As the car just turned onto the winding mountain road, a huge dark shadow suddenly leaped out. Unexpectedly, the two-ton car was flipped over like a toy. Fortunately, Shana and her son were sitting in the back and were not injured, but the driver was trapped by the deformed front of the car, and his clothes were quickly stained with blood. Meanwhile, the giant deer outside showed no intention of leaving, continuously kicking the car, causing the cabin to gradually deform under its hoofs. Shana knew she couldn't just sit and wait, so after apologizing to the driver, she pulled her son and escaped from the other side. Also, at the same time, on a clearing not far away, a strange old lady in white was staring blankly at the dark forest, muttering something to herself. The scene then shifts to a villa where several of Shana's family members are preparing ingredients for tonight's Thanksgiving. Someone suggests calling Shana and her son to ask why they haven't arrived so late. However, the black woman shakes her head repeatedly because this remote old home has no signal, and even the only landline in the house was broken by the mother with dementia. However, just as Black Sister finished speaking, she noticed that Mother Mary was standing outside the door, quietly staring into the forest. It turned out that this Mary was Jimmy's grandmother. Since she was dressed too lightly, Black Sister quickly brought her back inside. But before they could settle in the room, Mary suddenly said something inexplicable.
Here.
谢谢，奶奶，这一点也不吓人。
However, before long, there were frantic footsteps outside the door, and the ones who rushed in were the still shaken Shana and Jimmy. Unexpectedly, the seemingly senile grandmother actually had the ability to foresee the future. Shana recounted the terrifying experience they just had to everyone present. Although the story of Bambi being able to overturn a car sounds somewhat absurd, the bloodstains on Shana's face made them have to believe it. The uncle told everyone not to go out and to report to the police in town as soon as it was daylight. At this moment, the third brother suddenly said that the driver trapped in the car couldn't wait until morning, and he couldn't just stand by and do nothing. He put on his coat and walked out alone. At this time, several experienced bounty hunters also arrived in the forest under the cover of night. They were hired by a certain biotech company, specifically to capture the mutated giant deer and provide it to the company for research. The group groped through the darkness with their hunting rifles, but before they could find any trace of the giant deer, they first discovered the overturned car. The driver was already missing, leaving only a pool of fresh blood. The scene before them made the hunters more cautious. It seemed this dark forest was far more dangerous than they had thought. Following the slight blood trail on the ground, the three hunters tracked along, intending to find Bambi this way, but unexpectedly ran into the third brother, who had come to rescue the driver. In the dim light of the dark woods, the hunters mistakenly took the unlucky third brother as their target and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Just like that, the third brother was prematurely taken out. Meanwhile, the grandmother in the living room was frantically doodling on white paper with a pitch-black crayon. Her drawing style was very eerie, exuding a strong sense of unease. Out of curiosity, Jimmy picked up the sketchbook and discovered that what was drawn on it was clearly the monster that attacked them. When Jimmy looked up, he saw Grandma staring out the window, talking to herself, and the lights outside were flickering under some kind of influence.
Grandma?
After seeing the shadow of the half wall, Jimmy was so scared that he quickly called for his mom, but by the time Shana arrived, the monster had already rushed in front of them. The girl was so scared that she hid behind the cabinet, not daring to make a sound. After an unknown amount of time, the surroundings finally became quiet, but just as she was about to escape, a few drops of foul-smelling saliva dripped down from above.